So this song that I want to teach you is called There Are No Mirrors in My Nana's House. Okay, so I'll just get the lyrics up so you can see. There were no mirrors in my Nana's house, no mirrors in my Nana's house. I think just to begin with, that's quite sweet anyway, in terms of like your relationship. So I don't know if you guys have grandparents around still under the lockdown. You might not be able to see them, but you might miss them. I think it's nice. It's a special relationship with grandparents, especially nanas. So this, I'm going to teach you the tune of this chorus, and it comes up quite a lot. So it goes, there are no mirrors in my Nana's house, no mirrors in my Nana's house. There are no mirrors in my Nana's house, no mirrors in my Nana's house. Okay, so I'm going to teach you that first bit. There were no mirrors in my Nana's house. Try that. Ready? And there were no mirrors in my Nana's house. And then no mirrors in my Nana's house. So second time, the Nana's house is stretched a bit. So let's try that second line. No mirrors in my Nana's house. And again, there were no mirrors in my Nana's house. No mirrors in my Nana's house. Okay, so just the other thing about the group, Sweet Honey in the Rock, is they're great for rhythms and different and interesting rhythms. So that's what we've got here. You've got the similar words, but they're different. They've got made a slightly different pattern, and some of the words are a bit stretched sometimes and not other times. So let's just go through those 4 lines a couple of times with me. Ready? And there are no mirrors in my Nana's house. No mirrors in my Nana's house. There were no mirrors in my Nana's house. No mirrors in my Nana's house. Great. Then we got, and the beauty that I saw in everything, the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes, was in her eyes. Okay, so I'll break that down. So you got, and the beauty that I saw in everything. So again, bit of attitude. The beauty that I saw in everything. Ready? And the beauty that I saw in everything. Then you got the beauty in everything. Yeah. Ready? The beauty in everything. Yeah. Was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. Try that line. Was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. And again, was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. Okay, so let's try the whole thing a couple of times. Once you've got that, you've got most of the song. So we'll try it together. 1, 2, 3, and there were no mirrors in my Nana's house. No mirrors in my Nana's house. There were no mirrors in my Nana's house. No mirrors in my Nana's house. And the beauty that I saw in everything, the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. Great. So next one. So you go back to a bit that you're already familiar with. There were no mirrors in my Nana's house. No mirrors in my Nana's house. There were no mirrors, etc. Okay, then this is where the different bit is. So there, the other thing to say about the group in Sweet Honey in the Rock, and one of the original members, Issy Barnwell, was the person who wrote this song, and yeah, so they're all African American singers and musicians. So I never knew that my skin was too black. So obviously this is written from their point of view. Ready? So it goes, and I never knew that my skin was too black. Can you try that? And I never knew that my skin was too black. And I never knew that my nose was too flat. Try that. And I never knew that my nose was too flat. And you'll guess the rest of it. And I never knew that my clothes didn't fit again. I never knew that my clothes didn't fit. And I never knew there were things that I'd missed. Ready? And I never knew there were things that pretty much all the similar notes. And then you go, cause the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. Yeah? All right. So we'll move on back to, you go, the same thing. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. Then you've got another verse. And the world outside was a magical place. I only knew love and I didn't know hate. The beauty that I saw in everything, the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. So let's try that together, because it should be a little bit familiar because it's like this, the first verse. The world outside was a magical place. Ready? And the world outside was a magical place. I only knew love and I didn't know hate. And the beauty that I saw in everything, the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. And then we're back into... And there were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. And the beauty that I saw in everything, the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. Oh, I've noticed a spelling mistake that made it through. Now, here's your chance. So I know Joe Wicks does spot the difference. I'll do spot the mistake. So look carefully at the lyrics and see if you can spot. It's still a word, but it's the wrong word. Have you found it? So I'll give you a clue. It's towards the end, because that's when I suddenly went, oh, spotted a mistake. So it's the very final line. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. And I've accidentally put a T on the end, not mirrors. So ignore that. Going to try and remember at the end. I'm sure you'll be fine. No mirrors in my nana's house is what it's supposed to be. All right, so we are going to try that together all the way through with the track. Now, I mentioned before that Sweet Honey in the Rock are an a cappella group, which means they just sing, occasionally with percussion, but they just sing. They don't have bass guitars or drum kit or anything like that. They just make all the noises, all the sounds and the harmonies and the percussion with their voices. So I've tried to do something similar for you today. So here we go. We're going to sing it together. No mirrors. And there is an introduction. There's a count in, so you don't need to panic. 1, 2, here we go. 3, 4. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. And the beauty that I saw in everything, the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. And I never knew that my skin was too black. And I never knew that my nose was too flat. And I never knew that my clothes didn't fit. And I never knew there were things that I'd missed. 'Cause the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. There were no mirrors in my nana's house. No mirrors in my nana's house. The world outside was a magical place. I only knew love and I didn't know hate. And beauty that I saw in everything, the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. There were no mirrors in my Nana's house, no mirrors in my Nana's house. There were no mirrors in my Nana's house, no mirrors in my Nana's house. And the beauty that I saw in everything, the beauty in everything, yeah, was in her eyes. Oh, was in her eyes. The mirrors in the there was no mirrors in my Nana's house, no mirrors in my Nana's house. Excellent. All right. So there we go. We've had a little go at a cappella as well, because normally we play with a little bit of like keyboard or the ukulele or the backing tracks. So well done.